Here's why leftists are freaking out about the recent YouTube shooting.
Shots fired during the lunch hour at the video colossus YouTube. Now tragically familiar, but not this. A female suspect.
We are in our tribes, we're in our corners most of our lives. I think we just heard some gunshots. Should we listen to that for a second, control room? Is that not gunshots? Okay.
You know, the shooting which was done by an Iranian immigrant woman that drove all the way from San Diego up to San Bruno, California to enact revenge on YouTube's HQ for demonetizing her YouTube videos.
My ninja look. When it comes to freedom of speech.
So let's go over how this whole thing panned out in the media to begin with, and how these leftist media outlets panicked and frantic and tried to do anything they could to cover it up with a false narrative, because the true narrative didn't go along with their anti-Second Amendment, anti-white male agenda.
When teachers never carry guns, when teachers never carry guns.
The shooter, Nazim Aghdam, was a 39-year-old Iranian woman who, according to her YouTube and social media posts, was born and raised in Iran, and she had views commonly associated with the left, such as animal rights activism and veganism. At first, the media was pushing a false narrative that the shooting was done by a white woman in a headscarf, and that this was simply a domestic dispute in which a woman went to go shoot her boyfriend at his workplace, as well as some of his co-workers. But then, when leftist media outlets realized that this wasn't going to help their agenda to take away guns and to demonize white males, they became relatively silent compared to other shootings. The pictures and videos of Nazim on social media indicate that she was more secular, in that she wore more secular clothing. She didn't adhere to the Orthodox Muslim dress code. She didn't typically wear a hijab. However, according to the reports, she must have been wearing a hijab when she did this attack.
My ninja look.
So why does the left hate this story? Well, it's quite simple. You've got an Iranian immigrant woman that goes and shoots up YouTube's gun-free zone HQ in a city which already has very strict gun laws, and enacts revenge on YouTube for what she perceived as violating her free speech, her First Amendment rights on the internet, by essentially demonetizing and censoring her content. Now, leftists are arguing that because California already has bans on assault weapons, or at least makes it a lot harder for you to get them, that they prevented a large massacre. That essentially, if she would have been able to get her hands on an assault rifle, she could have done a lot more damage and a lot more carnage. Well, here's what I have to say to that.
The fallacy of false cause. In order to understand it, you need to understand the idea that correlation does not imply causation. Basically what it is assuming a causal link simply based on the constant conjunction of two events.
You can't use this one example of somebody using a handgun which resulted in minimal injuries to say that all people who would use handguns would have the same result if they engaged in a mass shooting. Somebody who's very skilled with a handgun could do a lot of carnage. So somebody with a handgun could go out there and actually do way more carnage and damage than somebody with a semi-automatic weapon such as an AR-15 that doesn't know what they're doing. We cannot allow leftists to use these few tragedies to try to infringe on our Second Amendment right to bear arms and protect ourselves. We've all heard the media report on horrific stories of parental abuse, where parents have abused, chained up, and even killed their children at times. But imagine if we let leftists use the same line of thinking that they're trying to use with taking away our Second Amendment rights. by taking away our parental rights, such as you can't have your parental rights because there are a couple case-in-point examples out there of parents abusing their parental rights. You do not punish the innocent, law-abiding citizen and revoke their right to self-defense, their right to the Second Amendment, just as you would not revoke the rights of parents who are good parents just because there are some parents out there that horrifically abuse their parental rights. Therefore, it's better to allow guns to get in the hands of a few bad guys than to do away with everyone's right to self-defense to protect themselves with the Second Amendment.